my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Anthony Edwards is back at it again in his clown act, right? And you guys already know I do not like this guy for various reasons that's known. And it's not hate. I've always laid out the things on the table that I don't like this guy about. I just don't like him. He's not, to me, he's not living up to the hype. Just because you can put up 25 points per game, 27 points per game, I'm not buying it in this soft, weak era. And all the hype about Anthony Edwards. And he said something recently, and it doesn't surprise me. He said worse things than this, if I can get it out of my mouth, many times. So this isn't the worst thing that he ever said, but it's not surprising that he said this. And the fact that he would say this at a time where the NBA ratings are down, we know these guys aren't making any effort to really play this so-called greatest of all time basketball, NBA, that they claim, the sports media, in at times these NBA fans, these NBA players on their podcasts. So Anthony Edwards, amongst other things, said I think it was post game, and somebody was interviewing him or asking him questions, and he responded. And the guys that interview these guys, they sound like, I don't know, man. They sound like 18-year-olds. They don't sound like men. They don't sound professional. They don't really sound like they're doing their job when they ask real questions, like they're scared, like they, their questions are, pre-written, and they tell them what they're going to ask them before the camera comes on or something. It's just so ridiculous, man, the way these guys sound. But Anthony Edwards says this: the fans effing booing us. This ish is crazy. Man, we're getting booed in our home arena. That's so effing disrespectful. It's crazy. Huh. What I do is not scripted. I don't come into it really knowing what I'm going to say. I'm not reading from a teleprompter. And yes, I know a subject I'm going to talk about, but sometimes, even though you don't write this stuff down and you're not reading from a teleprompter, you're still at a loss of words when you're having to deal with these guys. And this comparison of Michael Jordan, when did Michael Jordan ever cuss up a storm like Anthony Edwards, like LeBron James, like some of these star players that do this stuff? At the same age, Michael Jordan, when did he ever sound like a little kid? And we know they're young, but still, these guys don't talk in any professional form or language or sound intelligent. They sound like idiots. And to me, I think these are just Ja Morant type of guys, right? When we talk about Anthony Edwards, most of these guys grow up in the suburbs or in a middle-class home, and some of them even in a rich home. And there's nothing wrong with that. Wherever you were born, that's where you were born. However you were raised, you can't help it. But these guys, what they do now in this era, because we all know that the hood is really running out. The hood across America has been getting gentrified heavily since the 2000s. And you even see it with the music today. None of these guys since the Drake era in the 2010s are these so-called gangsters, these so-called had it rough growing up, and it's just all facade. It's just made up. And what these guys do is they feel like because they're black, it's their duty to act a certain way, like they're from the streets, like they grew up rough, like they grew up without nothing, and they grew up as these gangsters. And not only do they feel it's their duty because they're black, but they feel like, they missed out on something, right? So they want to really feel how that feels. That, other people who was really born in the ghetto, in the projects like me, people who hated school, but the only reason why I like school is because I got to eat. In the summertime, we didn't get to eat. There was no food in the house with many children. right? So some of these spoiled brats, these AAU brats who don't know about hard work, and the NBA has to keep going, has to keep making money. And its mentality, and I'm sorry, guys, I just hate to say it. And I love Allen Iverson. I think he's the greatest player, pound for pound. He's not in my top 5. He's not in my top 10 or nothing like that. But this guy was incredible. But because he thought he was incredible at his game, and he was, it was him who ushered in this I don't give a F mentality. And I'm not practicing. Not only that, you know, he's responsible, like everybody says, who brought in hip hop to the NBA. No, he didn't. A lot of times people say stuff that makes no sense, and because nobody wants to really refute it, they just say dumb stuff. Like they'll say, Curry changed the game. Curry did not change no game. It was him and Clay out there shooting a three. You came for Clay, he was throwing it to Curry. You come for Curry, he was throwing it to Clay. What they did, I don't know. That to me, that was the greatest duo since Michael Jordan and Pippen. And then you can go back to guys like Magic and Kareem, and whatever duos you want to go with after that. But that was a great duo. Um, so yeah, Curry didn't change the game. It was Curry and Clay that changed the game. If Clay never shows up for the Warriors, guess what? Or he never gets drafted to the Warriors. Yes, Curry is going to be a great player, but I just don't know his legacy. Yes, a Hall of Famer, but I don't know about all those championships. I just don't know. So I'm just saying that's when people say dumb stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the whole Golden State team out there on the perimeter. But if you want to be real about it and look at it, it was LeBron's teammates who were out on the perimeters, his centers, his guard. I mean his power forward at the time, and just about everybody. That was the LeBron James effect. So he can barrel down the lane with nobody in it. So everybody spread out. That was LeBron James. You can see that when you go back to Cleveland the first time. Watch those games. You can see that with him. This guy is supposed to be a paint player, not barreling to the paint, but he's supposed to be getting the ball in the paint and turn around and scoring or giving you some type of paint work. But he don't have that type of game because he don't want to practice that type of game because he's lazy. So when we talk about Allen Iverson, and we'll get back to this guy in a minute, Allen Iverson did not bring hip hop into the NBA. Shaq was making rap albums. What are we talking about? Before Allen Iverson even came into the NBA, dudes were kind of sagging their shorts before Allen Iverson came into the NBA. Not like I wouldn't say sagging. I'm just saying had longer shorts coming into the '90s. Because hip hop, it was in the '80s, big clothes. Allen Iverson brought in gangster rap into the NBA. That's what he brought into the NBA. I don't give a F attitude. He brought that gangster rap mentality, cornrows. I ain't got no problem with cornrows, but he brought that in. The sagging the shorts. That was gangster rap. Having your pants hang off your butt, that's gangster rap. That's not hip hop. So we need to understand the difference between hip hop and gangster rap. Hip hop is when guys could write a whole album and battle, or if not even battle, just make dance songs, fun songs, party songs without saying one cuss word. Okay? Not calling any woman the B word, not saying the N word. That's hip hop. Dougie Fresh, Run DMC, Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, Salt and Pepper, Slick Rick, and the list goes on and on. We know what hip hop was before NWA stepped on the scene and brought you gangster rap, right? And pretty much it. We don't need to talk about the rest. We know what happened then. Everybody started killing each other. So, a government operation. So, this is how these guys are. These are these, Drake era dudes that act tough, that come from middle class homes and stuff like that. And this is why this guy is cussing. He's not really like this, but he has to give off this perception that he's really like that. Like he's really tough. He wants to put on this image for his for his followers, his fans, whatever fans you got that really like that. I don't know what kind of fans you got. But Michael Jordan at that age was not cussing, was not getting that mad. didn't have the fans booing him. Went out there and gave effort on both ends of the court, and he spoke very intelligent. If you listen to him, this guy, he was Michael Jordan didn't grow up poor. Now, was it projects back then? Yes, but they really didn't call that the hood or the ghetto back then. And we won't get too deep into. I mean, that's a whole different subject. But Michael Jordan pretty much grew up middle class, and I guess you really can say upper middle class, right? So he was well spoken, and that's what I'm saying. There's no reason for these guys to be talking like they talk because they don't come from the hood. They don't come from the projects. These are wannabes. These are Ja Morants. But some of this stuff just coincides with this era. So this is pretty much what he said. And you're getting booed by the fans because, look, I told you they traded Karl Anthony Towns, and in my opinion, when they traded him, I said that they want to give him more shots. They want to give him the spotlight. They want to, since they was pushing this Michael Jordan thing, the next Michael Jordan last year, maybe this made sense to get rid of Karl Anthony Towns, and this guy gets more shots, Anthony Edwards. And maybe he can, since two plumbers been running the league, since he's been in the league, right? The most athletic era of all time, Luka and Joker, since these guys have been running the league, trade Karl Anthony Towns. This guy gets more shots. Julius Randle, he's always hurt. Probably won't make it through the season. And you put up 32, 35 in this soft, weak era. It made sense. So coming off of the Olympic team benching, that this guy had to play a bench role, Michael Jordan ain't going to do that. Michael Jordan ain't going to get benched for a turnover king. I can't even say it. Turnover king. Can't shoot free throws, can't shoot the mid-range, can't shoot three for his career. Don't talk about, oh man, they got been shooting good from three, last 2 seasons. Career. We all know it. Can't give you no paint work. 4-6 loser, and everything else. Michael Jordan ain't fixing to get benched for this guy. But Anthony Edwards, the only way he could be on his team after he lost in the 23 FIBA to plumbers and didn't even get a medal with Halliburton, Brunson, what was it, Panchero? Oh, he had a slew of teammates. There's no reason why this guy should have lost to the fake Rondo, Schroeder, and them German plumbers. And I think they got gold. I think they got gold in the FIBA. So it was. I don't want to hear it. So the only way he could play on that Olympic team that LeBron built or rebuilt, whatever you want to call it, because he couldn't take those young guys under his wing and be like, come on, let's do this. He had to build a super duper team, right? So the only way Anthony Edwards could play on that team, LeBron slid Curry from the point guard over to the shooting guard, and the turnover king ran the point guard. This is the fakest Magic Johnson, Chris Paul, Steve Nash you ever seen. This big football player looking out there dribbling the ball. Could you imagine Karl Malone out there running damn point guard? This is what it looks like, folks. It looks hideous. They will be stealing the ball from this guy up and down the court in the 90s like it ain't nothing. Soon as somebody came up on Magic Johnson in the 80s, this dude literally, most of the times, had to turn his back. These dudes will steal the ball from LeBron James. And not because Magic Johnson wasn't a good passer or a good dribbler, because those guys could play great defense. So Anthony Edwards, yes, he was a bench player on the Olympic team. Something that Michael Jordan would laugh at because he would be in practice, giving LeBron 40 points on his head, stopping him from scoring. It would be a joke, man. And all you heard from Anthony Edwards, oh, man, they better watch out for me, man. They better watch out for me. Look, man. This guy, he I think we did something on him the other day, and he's not in the top 5, I think, points per game, steals, rebounds, blocks, field goal. The only thing he was in was 3-point, I think, percentage. That's it in the top 5. That's it. This guy's shooting close to half of his shots, attempts, are threes. So what's going on? This guy's not a leader. He's out there just playing basketball because that's what most of these guys do. They're not leaders because they don't have real coaches coaching them because, coaches, I don't know how coaches can coach, real coaches can coach a 3-point contest. And there's no, if a coach can't tell you, hey, bro, that's a bad shot. That's a bad shot. You can't keep doing that, man. That's a bad shot. You ain't playing defense. I mean, they're not real coaches, guys. I try to tell you, and I try to be cool and kind and, try to fit in with the YouTube sports community and stuff like that. But it's just hard, man. I just like telling the truth. And the truth is, these aren't real head coaches, man. They're just there to pat these guys on the back. That's it. They're not running no triangle, no Princeton, no. What sets are they running? Pick and pop. What are they doing, man? They're shooting 30 to 43s a game. They don't yell at players. Go back to the 80s, the 70s, the 90s, and much of the 2000s where coaches were throwing chairs, screaming at players while they were on the court. You blown an assignment. You won in the right place. You didn't do this right. Then when they come back to the bench, they're screaming at them again. These are real coaches, folks. Who was this guy? Was it Jerry? Oh, I forget this guy's name. Tartarian? I forget his. I don't want to butcher up his name. But the guy for the coach from UNLV used to bite the towel. I mean, Bobby Knight used to throw the chair. Bobby Knight used to choke people. And I'm not trying to say you got to do all that, but I'm just saying these were real coaches. They were out there on the sideline pulling out their hair. Jeff Van Gundy was jumping in fights with NBA players. I mean, this was insane back then. You had, who was that? Calipari. Oh, man, John. Oh, my God. I forget this guy's name. He coached for Temple Owls, and it was him and Calipari. They got in a big fight. I think the guy died. He was a black guy, and they were fighting on the court or something. Was it on the court? Was it after a game or something? I mean, this stuff was legendary back in the day, man. Coaches fighting each other. Coaches fighting players. I mean, coaches screaming and throwing stuff. I mean, this is competitive fire. And what I'm trying to say is, the stuff that these guys are doing in this NBA, none of this stuff will fly back then because they were real coaches. Joel Embiid, the way he's acting, he would have already been on the trading block. Zion Williams, he would have been cut. And maybe Joel Embiid, he would have been cut. You know why? Because the talent pool was so great back then that we can find somebody else. We don't need you. We didn't need international players to come over and dominate the NBA because our talent pool of Americans was so great. Yes, we did have international players, but they were the best of the best, right? When you talk about Patrick Ewing, when you talk about the Dikembe Mutombo, when you talk about Hakeem Olajuwon, these type of guys, they were the best. Some of these international players wanted to come over and play in the NBA, but they weren't the best of the best, bro. That's why when we talk about, or when they were saying, oh man, when they got all these international players that's in the NBA that's playing in the Olympics against the American Olympic team. Well, that exposes you. That exposes them because look, we act like international players didn't try to come play in the NBA back in the 80s, the 90s. They just weren't good enough. And when I say not good enough, I'm not trying to say they weren't good players. I'm talking about they weren't better than our American players. And if they made it, it was the best. John Stockton, Canadian, international player. Steve Nash came in the 90s, international player. And I'm sure you can name some more from the 80s and 90s. Tony Kukoc. What was he, the first European player or something like that? I forget if he was. But he was great over there in Europe. He was the greatest player that ever played. And he couldn't come over until later in his career. It just wasn't a spot for him like that, man. Until he got all-time great. And then he could come over. Because you being great wasn't based off of your offensive game only. Being great, you had to play defense too. So, the young people will never understand that you know, I said this before. We had college teams that'll beat up on these NBA teams now from the '90s, early 2000s. When we look at some of them UConn teams, some of those Duke teams, some of those North Carolina teams, Kansas teams, these guys were good, man. These were good players. The tournament back then was all time great. Even in the early 2000s, it was all time great, man. So the talent pool and the American players is trash because of guys like this, man. You just shut your mouth, you go to work, and you raise your level of play. It's been a big disappointment with this guy. It really has. The 27, what's he putting up, like 27, 5-4, and 1 steal and 0.4 blocks or something like that? Where's in this soft week era? These guys talk about, oh man, there weren't no skilled guys before Michael Jordan. Okay, but this is a soft week era. You should be able to put up 35 a game, bro, and grab 6-7 boards and dish out 6 assists while having 2 steals a game and shooting 50%. This guy ain't shooting 50%. Now, we give it to him because he's shooting good from the 3, but this is something to live and die by. If you get up into the playoffs and you're living and dying by this 3, it's not good. And that's why we talk about Victor Wembanyama. He's going to live and die by this 3. It's not going to be good. I mean, Anthony Edwards, you're not the talk of the NBA. You're not. Not this year. You're not the talk of the NBA. Yes, they was hyping you up on this potential because you could jump. Who gives a damn about that, man? Michael Jordan's game was more than dunking, more than jumping. Yes, most of his highlights is dunking because what he was doing was incredible amongst the trees. He had no physical advantage, and he was doing this on real power forwards, real centers, real defense, and stuff like that. But I don't even like that Jordan. I like to when I go watch full games. What I like and what I see is a guy shooting lights out from the mid range. You're not dunking every play. You might get one dunk a game. But some of the dunks, some of the, hanging in the air and doing spectacular moves, that's all we really see in these highlights because we can't see them from nobody else. Nobody else really does it. Or does it like him. But yeah, his shooting is what won him games. It made him the greatest. Not dunking. We talked about Vince Carter the other day, and you guys can love Vince Carter all you want. He was a great player, but maybe the most disappointing career of all time with his ability. And I'm not trying to say, oh man, he had to win 5 rings or 6 rings or have 3 MVPs. But when you have no rings, no MVPs, does this guy even have any statistical titles? I don't remember. Where's his great playoff moments? Yes, he might have had a great playoff series one time, but where's his great playoff moments? Where's his great his great finals moments? For LeBron James to make it to the finals at age 22, we know it was a weak East, but still, for LeBron to make it to the finals before Vince Carter, and Vince Carter never make it to the finals, So Vince Carter basically was just a dunker. That's really all I see when I see his highlights. I know we see a lot of Michael Jordan highlights, but they can also show you a lot of buzzer beater Michael Jordan highlights, a lot of other Michael Jordan highlights, him killing from the mid range, all that stuff. A lot of different. Look, man, I ain't trying to be mean, but Vince Carter, a big disappointing career for somebody who didn't deal with injury. It was just disappointing, man. It was just disappointing with his ability. He'll just be known for a dunker. That's it. That's it. I mean, when you see all these guys out here that have rings and he don't have a ring, and he don't have any great playoff moments, no finals moments, it's just, I don't know, man. I think the lack of all NBA teams that he was on, like first teams and stuff like that, I don't think he made no defensive teams. And I think he's Hall of Fame, but to think Vince Carter isn't top 75 player. I mean, you would think when you said Vince Carter, you would think top 75, like Dominique Wilkins, and Vince Carter ain't even nothing on Dominique Wilkins level. If y'all want to talk about, yeah, man, yeah, well, Vince Carter could dunk, go ahead. What else? Give me some more. I'll tell you the worst thing that ever happened when they separated Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady. Yep, it was the worst thing for both of them. And I know we're talking about money here, and they both wasn't going to get that kind of money, but still. But when you think about what both of them could have did together in the league, that would have been unstoppable. It's something like, James Harden, and he would have stayed with Westbrook and Durant. I mean, that would have been championships right there. That would have been championships, but these cats care more about money. And I'm not going to beat them up for it, but man, you're talking about an unstoppable team that really never was. That really never was. It could have been a good trio like Bird, McHale, and Parrish. Something like that. Or, the trio of Manu Ginobili, Duncan, and Parker. A good trio like that. Because that's a lot of offense right there. I wouldn't say it's a lot of defense, but we're talking about the 210s. LeBron, in the 210s, he went in and traded defense for offense. That's why when they put up that dumb meme, and they talk about how Michael Jordan had all these defensive players all NBA and all NBA defensive. And then when you look at, he had Scottie Pippen for all the finals runs. And then when you look at, he had Scottie Pippen, I think he had Horace Grant for 1 year, and he had Dennis Rodman was on the defensive team for 1 year. But when you look at LeBron's side, I think he didn't have no All NBA defensive players in his finals run except for AD. What do you want, bro? You traded offense for defense, and that's just the way it happened, man. So Anthony Edwards is a straight clown, man, and he deserves to get booed. They're losing. They're not living up to the potential. They got rid of Karl Anthony Towns so this guy could get the spotlight, and he's not raising his game. Sitting out there shooting threes. Hey, man, since you're scared to dunk, and maybe a plumber might do a three-peat in a dunk contest, tell you what, why don't you get in a three-point contest and just become a three-point shooter? I mean, it's just crazy, man. Don't tell me these guys are the most athletic. Don't get floored every time these guys do a basic dunk that we done seen all in the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, all this stuff. And you guys get blown away when you do see a good dunk because these guys never dunk like that. You guys go crazy when LeBron does a good pass because you don't see those passes no more. You don't see floor generals like Chris Paul or Steve Nash or Jason Kidd or John Stockton or Magic John. You don't see these floor generals no more. So when you see a great pass, the caller analyst, oh, that's the greatest thing we ever seen. Only LeBron could do this. I'm like, what? I done seen Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. These guys do more incredible passes than what LeBron does. But this is the hype they got to give the game because they got to tell people they're idiots. What they're seeing isn't true. And what you're seeing is a league who can't sell itself based on its own court play. So what happens now is they have to bring shenanigans to the media, so the media can sell it, right? Anthony Edwards saying this, Anthony Edwards saying that, LeBron James saying this guy saying that. We don't care what you say, bro. You're making it worse. What you're trying to tell us, you have to keep saying all this dumb stuff because your on court play isn't working. Your on court play isn't selling. Your on court play nobody cares about. The 2020s has the worst NBA ratings in NBA history. Nobody's watching it. Nobody cares, but they're trying to tell us these guys are the most skilled players of all time. And I think, what gets me is they don't put stuff on their back and be like, yeah, man, let's go ahead and change this stuff for the better. They make it worse. They make it worse. Let's stop shooting all these threes. Let's play defense. Let our coaches be real coaches. Let our referees be real referees. And they can call carry and travel and all this stuff. Nope. They won't let these officials or coaches do that. And that's what I try to tell you. If these referees aren't calling travel and carry because that's their job to officiate, then guess what? They're not real officials, folks. And the reason why they don't call carry and travel like they're supposed to, because it would expose these guys as good or great NBA players. And then you would say, hold on, wait, how are these guys making record-breaking contracts if they can't dribble? If they can't play basketball? So we already see that they can't play defense. They can't really run sets. But wait, they're traveling and carrying? How are these guys making all this money? And that's why the real NBA fans really don't watch this stuff no more. Let me tell you something. I heard many people say, I tuned into this game and I just shut it off until the second half. I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me. It's not just me. I heard this. People make videos and they say, yeah, man, I was watching this game. I could not watch it no more until the second half. Because it's unwatchable. It's not real NBA basketball. People have channels and they want to react to it, but it's not even worth watching it in the first half because it's horrible. It's not competitive. There's no rivalries. There's no positions or nothing like that. It's just crazy. People, like I said, they're dribbling the ball shoulder high, right there in front. Like, how don't you call this? So you're not a real ref. So it's not a real game. I don't know. I just keep. It's crazy, man. And I'm not going to try to say, oh no, man, nobody carried and traveled in the history of the game. But I can guarantee you, if you go back and watch the games when I watched them growing up in the 90s, in the 80s, and much of the early 2000s, when you did this, they would call it the majority of the time. You hear travel and carry and, palming and all this stuff all game. It's not because they weren't good players or, anything like that. It's just because they're playing basketball. It's the heat of the moment. Nobody's perfect. But they weren't doing it all the time. These guys are doing it all the time. And nothing's ever called. And they definitely don't. If something's called, they never called on the superstar. I mean, it has to be outrageous. LeBron the other day took like six steps while he was trying to gather himself. And they just couldn't help but call it. It was 6 damn steps. So he got up and he was outraged. He was screaming like, dude, what are you doing? You took 6 steps. Why are you mad? Or he claimed somebody tripped him or something. And this is embarrassing too. This guy is embarrassing. He done rubbed off on Anthony Edwards and the rest of these guys, crying and complaining and complaining. What are you crying and complaining about, man? You don't really get called for carry and travel. You guys are the superstars. All they do is foul other players all day. Most of them, like LeBron James and Anthony Edwards and Joel Embiid and much of these guys. And when they foul somebody, the foul's never called. When they go up, they're screaming like little women. AD, Anthony Edwards, what are you guys screaming about? What are you screaming about? So the most of the fans here that go to these games, it's just entertainment, man. They just want to see entertainment. They're not going to see competitive basketball, competitors, rivalries, guys not breaking the rules every time they dribble the ball or, guys not crying. They're just going to see entertainment. It's not real NBA basketball no more. I told you guys before, it's not a real NBA league. I mean, we can dial this back to when LeBron went to Miami. It was no pushback from the coaches, from the players, from the organizations, nothing. And then he taunted the whole league after he did it. I mean, like, made a whole announcement. It's like it's been like NBA has been basically a production that's in your face. Building super teams over and over again. This guy loses in 2018. They're still worried about what's he gonna do? Where's he gonna? Who cares? He's a loser. He's a loser after he builds super teams. They wasn't even like, man, yeah, LeBron, he lost in 2018 finals. This makes him 5-4-5. Nope, they couldn't even say that. They couldn't say, yeah, that makes him with the 9 finals, he's 6-3. Couldn't even say that. They couldn't even. I mean, it's ridiculous. And they're worried about what a loser is going to do. A loser that needs, we talked about this the other day too. LeBron has never led a team to a championship. Let me give it to you one more time. LeBron has never led a team to a championship. In his fan base, what? but he won 4. You cannot lead number ones of another team to a championship. You can't come together with other number ones and lead them to a championship. You can't do that. Remember the big three? Celtics in the 2000s? What happened? We don't say that Paul Pierce led them to a championship. Nope, we don't say that. We don't say that. Now, if LeBron would have got some old guys, say if he was in Cleveland, right, the first time, and Shaq was there, you had Ben Wallace was there for a minute. If he would have led those guys who were number ones on other teams, those guys were out their prime, he led them to a championship. Okay, we could say something like that. What about Dwayne Wade? Well, Shaq was out of his prime. Shaq was came in '92, folks. Shaq was out of his prime. Alonzo Mourning was out of his prime. Gary Payton was out of his prime. So LeBron James, even if you want to say that's the same as what LeBron did, that's fine. Whatever. Either way, LeBron never led a team to a championship. Bosh, Wade, Kyrie, Love, AD. Guess what? They were all number ones on other teams that came together with LeBron James, and they all led each other to a championship. LeBron was no leader. He was just a face of the team. That's it. That's it, folks. Hell, Dwight Howard is younger than LeBron. Dwight Howard came in after LeBron. If they're not the same age, so you can't say he was out of his prime. What are you saying? So LeBron has never led a team to a championship like Joker, like Giannis, like Michael Jordan. No. Like Bird. You don't go play with other teams' number one franchise players and you say you led a team to a championship. And LeBron could never do that. We all know that. He couldn't do it in Cleveland. He couldn't do it before Anthony Davis came there. He's never been a number one. Except in Cleveland the first time. And he couldn't do it. He's a meltdown artist. He was a choke artist. We know what happened there. We talked about it before. He didn't want to see Kobe. This guy's always plotting. He knew his career was over if he played Kobe, because Kobe was going to destroy him. Not because he didn't like him. Him and Kobe was good friends. And all through the 2000s, in many interviews, I can't wait to do that video again. They did like 3-4 interviews with LeBron. Oh, Kobe's the best. Another interview, Kobe's the best. Next interview, Kobe's the best. They're together in the interview. Kobe's the best. While LeBron is collecting MVPs, right, in Cleveland, LeBron is saying Kobe is the best in the league because of his skills. Never once did Kobe say, oh, LeBron is the best in the league because of his skills. Nope, he said Kobe was. So Kobe was going to destroy this guy just because the media left Kobe for dead and all this other stuff. So LeBron already knew, man. He already knew. He melted down on purpose. He said he was going to wear number 6 before the 2009 season started. He was out of there. He already knew he was going to wear number 6. That's what he told the media. And he wore the number 6 the next year in Miami. And actually, he also built that super team just in case he had to face Kobe in the finals in 2011, right? Because Kobe was on the streak. Luckily, Kobe didn't go back to the finals, but he would have won that too, right? In 2011. But he built that super team. He was scared to play Kobe. And, the media would have made some dumb excuse. Well, Kobe's got a good team, man. So LeBron had to build a super team. That would have been some kind of crazy excuse. They would have been like, look, man, see, Kobe won a three-peat, man. And he went to the finals 4 times in a row. They would justify LeBron having to build a super team to play Kobe. That's crazy. That's crazy. And Kobe still might have beat him because Dirk beat him. Who knows? But it didn't happen. And yeah, this Anthony Edwards, man, I don't have too much to say about this guy, man. It's just crazy that this guy couldn't prove me wrong from last year when I was peeing all in his eyes. He couldn't prove me wrong. He hasn't proved me wrong. He didn't raise his level of play. I think they played tonight. I'm gonna watch that game. I forget. They play somebody good. I forget who it is. But yeah, this man didn't raise his level of play or nothing. Yeah, what's he averaging? Maybe 2 more points or something like that this season? Big deal. All these threes these guys shoot, you would think they'd be scoring 35 points a game. That's what you would think. So, and now he's hating on the fans. They don't want to see you play, man. You suck. You're not a leader. You're not winning. You're crying pout on the court. All you do is shoot threes. I guess they should have kept. They need to bring people into these teams that can be a leader. Wemby, he don't want to be a center. Wemby don't want to be a center. Bring in a center to be the center. Since Wemby just wants to sit out on the 3-point line, bring a leader in. For Anthony Edwards, this should be easy, man. They claim this guy got all this ability. There's no way. If Joker is running around the league, dudes bouncing off of him, he just putting up all these triple doubles. How come this guy can't put up 35 points per game? Because he didn't even put up 30 points a game. Didn't Luka put up like 32 last year? And 8 and 7 or something like that? What's going on? Giannis out there putting up all these big numbers. AD out there putting up all these big numbers. This dude ain't doing it, man. And when you listen to this guy, he acts like he sounds like a child. I know we're gonna say he's 23 years old, man, but man, these guys supposed to have millions of dollars. Grow up. You could do this stuff, act unprofessional, or act yourself, or whatever you gotta act like when the microphone ain't on you. When you're not on the court, act professional when you're in the public.